when Microsoft released Windows 11, they put on some quite strict system specification requirements to allow it to install. So a lot of people's computers went, this PC doesn't currently meet the minimum system requirements to run Windows 11, and then it refused to install. That caused a bit of a hoo-ha initially, and then people just thought, well, okay, I'll carry on using Windows 10 then, which is probably what you did. Except now Microsoft are sort of poking you a little bit with reminders to say that support for Windows 10 is running out. At what point it actually runs out depends on at what point you find this video. So I'm not going to put any dates on it or anything. But you might be a bit peeved about that, because Windows 10 kind of works. Windows 11 didn't install. So what are you supposed to do? Buy a new computer? Well, Windows 12, will that install on it? We don't know, do we, at the moment? So here's a little fix for that to get the ball rolling straight away. This essentially is how you put Windows 11 on any computer. Whether you should do that is up to you. I'm going to focus on this particular device I've got in front of me. It's an Inspiron 17, a Dell laptop. It's the 7737 model. It's got a rather absolutely stunning 17-inch touchscreen, absolute massive touchscreen. And we'll look at the other specs now. So if I go to Task Manager, which I'll have a quick look at here, and go to Performance, and we look at CPU, you can see that it's got a quad-core i7 in it. It's the 4510U, which is below the requirements that Microsoft state for Windows 11. It's got 16 gig of RAM. If I then have a look at Device Manager, so we'll just flip quickly to Device Manager, we can see right here that when it comes to display adapters, we've got the Intel HD, which is on the processor, but we've also got a GeForce GT 750M. Okay, stop sniggering. It's not the most powerful graphics card that you could get in a laptop, but at the time this actual thing was purchased, it was pretty impressive, and this is an expensive laptop. The battery in it has completely gone, but also the CMOS battery has gone as well. So if it's left unplugged for a while and you plug it back in, it complains that the system time is wrong, and it reverts back to 2010. So that gives you an idea of how old this is. But this is a substantially, this is a substantial bit of kit. It's an expensive laptop, and it should run Windows 11, and it does. So, but you don't really want to have to buy a whole new laptop just because Microsoft are killing off Windows 10, do you? So if you in this situation, this video will show you how to put Windows 11 on, and then we'll see if there are any issues with it, and then you can decide for yourself whether you should try it on your computer. So here we go. What you'll need to do is go and find a program called Rufus. So Google Rufus and download it. I've got version 4.5 here. You will also then need to go to the Microsoft site and download the media creation tool and use that to create the Windows 11 ISO. And that's what I've got in this folder here. So I'm going to run Rufus, run as administrator, and away it goes. If you can't find Rufus and you can't create the Windows 11 image, you probably shouldn't be doing this. So you can probably stop watching now and go and do something else. The best way to explain this is cakes. You can go to the shop, buy a cake and stuff it in your face. Delicious. But you still have to get the cake out of the box and have enough money to buy one. What I'm not asking you to do is go to the shop and buy milk, eggs, sugar, and all the ingredients and all the little cupcake cases and have an oven ready. And I'm not asking you to actually bake a cake like it's Bake Off or something like that. You still have to be able to go to the shop, buy the cake, get it out of the box. So this is the can you open the box to get the cake out before you eat it thing. So I can't really make this any simpler. If you can't find Rufus and you can't get, then I have a video about how to create the Windows image. You can also put questions in if you get really stuck, but realistically, this is kind of a minimum level of competence. So run Rufus and plug a USB stick in. USB stick needs to be at least 8 gig. Most people have got like 32 gig ones kicking around. When you plug it in, if Rufus supports it, it will detect it and it will be listed under the device section there. Now you want to select the image. So you click select and then you go and find the image, which I've already done.
and then you select it like that, and then it will twinkle a little bit. I'll stop at this point and point this out. With the image option bit, if you choose Windows to go, then that makes a version of Windows that runs from a USB stick. That is brilliant. Officially, I think I think it's no longer supported officially, but it still works. I have a couple of Windows to go sticks because it's very handy for laptops, because you can boot from it, try and get the data off without actually taking it apart to get the drive out. So Windows to go is pretty cool and funky for diagnostic purposes. So maybe play with that as well. But default standard Windows installation is what you want at the moment. Then when you're ready, because it fills the rest in all correctly. So when you're ready, you click start. And because it knows it's Windows 11, it pops up this spectral, its extra options. So we have remove requirement for 4 gig plus RAM, secure boot and TPM. So one of the main reasons that Windows 11 won't install on your older, in inverted commas, laptop, more on that in a bit, is because of processor support. It needs to be Intel 8th gen or newer, and it needs to have TPM as well. Most laptops, to be fair, do have TPM because they're laptops and businesses buy laptops, and businesses are all about security. So that's where TPM comes in. Some motherboards had TPM, but it was disabled. I made a video about Asus motherboards, and that was quite a big tripping point for Windows 11 installations. So you turn TPM on and then it works. So if the older laptop doesn't have TPM at all, then obviously Windows 11 is just kind of a hissy fit and not work. So by ticking that, you bypass that. Also, one of the main irritations with Windows 11 is that it sort of insists that you have a Microsoft account. There is another way around that, which I discussed in another video of mine, but if you put a tick in that box there, remove requirement for an online Microsoft account, what it will do, as we'll see, is it will give you the option to say, I have no internet. Okay, we'll come to that when we actually come to use it. And it says create a local account with username. Now it will default to the username of the current installed user. I'm going to change that username to DELL because I'm going to try and install it on an old DELL. A tip at this point is if you think, oh, I want to have a local account, so I'll call the username local. Don't, because it won't work. So if you say create an account with username local, it doesn't work. It bombs out and you just get a request for a user so you can't sign in basically. So don't call it local. Just call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it DELL in this case. Set regional options to the same value as the user. So I'm logged in and my settings are set to UK, so it's automatically going to copy those over. Disable data collection. So on another video, I tick no a lot. That takes no a lot, takes care of that. Disable BitLocker automatic device encryption. The newer version of Windows 11 I'm using here enables BitLocker, so that turns that off. So what this should do is it should allow us to install Windows 11 on an older laptop. So I'm just going to click OK with that, and then I'm going to click OK again. And what it's going to do now is wipe the USB stick and create the installation media. I'll leave that running and we'll come back to it once it's actually finished and we're ready to use it.
So you made the stick. There's the stick. We'll put the stick in, find a little USB slot and slot it in. Now, because this machine is essentially working, this actually makes life a whole lot easier for us, because what we do is we restart it, but we boot from the USB stick. Now, if it's UEFI, it won't do the F10 select boot thing. That doesn't matter because this machine isn't broken, remember. So if I just click the start button and then the power button and then move the mouse over to restart, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press and hold the shift key and then press restart. And what that will do is it will restart in the recovery mode, which is like that. So now I'm going to choose user device, DINK user device, USB storage device, and then it will boot from the drive. Simple. And you can see it's booting because the Rufus bit has kicked in there. So it takes a bit of time for it to actually do its thing. So don't worry that there's this sort of bit of a delay. In many ways, when you are booting from USB, you can tell it's working because it there's a bit of a delay before the little spinny circle thing appears. So I'm just going to move the camera so we get a better view of the screen. I'm going to turn off the main light. So there's the screen there. I don't know how well you can see it. The Ninja hasn't kicked in yet because it needs to have the graphics enabled for it to do it on this particular model. So we're at the standard Windows 11 setup now. I'm just going to click next, and then I'm going to click install now, and it will say setup is starting, and you can see me. Hello, me. Again, it will chug a little bit, but that's fine. So now we get Windows setup, activate Windows, please insert the key. If your machine obviously had a registered copy of Windows 10 on it already, you can just do I don't have a product key. Just do that straight away. Now, depending on what version you had installed will depend on which version you click on now. This one had Windows 11 Pro installed, well, Windows 10 Pro installed, so I'm going to click Windows 11 Pro there. So if you've got Windows 10 Home, click Home. If you've got Windows 10 Pro, click Pro. This had Pro. I'm clicking that one. You click Next. And away it goes. And then you accept the license terms, obviously, because otherwise it exits. And we'll do a custom install, Windows only, advanced. Now, at this point, I should say that in order to do this, you will erase your existing drive. So make sure you've got the software that you need to install. Make sure you've got the installation media or files for that, and also make sure that anything you want to keep that isn't in the cloud, or even if it is in the cloud, anything you want to keep is copied somewhere else before you do this, because it will erase the entire drive. So I'm now going to click a partition, and I'm going to click delete, and it will say do you want to, and I'll say yes, and I'm going to do that for all the partitions that I see. On your particular system, you might notice that there is a recovery partition that would normally include the Windows 10 image, and it can be as much as 23 gig. So by doing it this way, you also free up some hard drive space as well. So drive not unallocated space, and then you just click next, and then away it goes. Now at this point, it's going to do its thing. What I'll do is I'll stop recording and then rejoin it when it needs interaction. So it's safe to just walk away now and leave it to do its thing. So the HDMI out hasn't kicked in yet. So I've got to do a terrible recording of the screen. I walked away and come back, and I've been greeted with this: let's connect you to a network. I'd rather not, so I'm going to do I don't have internet, which is now available. Continue with limited setup. And then it'll restart, I think. Well, no, it's gone straight to the desktop. So we've got a user called DELL, which was configured using Rufus, and now it's going to set up the user profile. Cool. I'll come back when it's done it. And here's the desktop. So it didn't ask any annoying questions, and it didn't ask for a Microsoft account. And we're here with the user called DELL, and it's a local user account. Obviously there's nothing going to be here until we get online. Would I like to pin Microsoft Edge to your taskbar? Yes or no? Well, no thanks. It's already there though, isn't it? So that's a bit of a moot point. So I'm going to join my network and then let it update, and then hopefully we'll be able to record the screen then. Right, so I'm going to jump straight to Windows Update. Right click, settings. I'll put that in the middle of the screen like that, and then do Windows Update and check for updates and see what it does. So at this point, again, I'm just going to walk away. There is one thing I'm going to do first, and that's go to the search box, and I'm going to type in power once it's appeared, because I want to make sure the machine doesn't go to sleep when I'm doing it. So edit power plan. We'll try edit power plan. Turn off display after 5 minutes. I'm going to turn off the display never, and then click save, and then I'll leave it, and hopefully it won't turn itself off before it's finished updating. So I'm now having just interacted it for a couple of minutes, I'm going to walk away again and let it do its thing with the updates. And there are lots of updates. So I'm going to stop recording and then come back when it's settled down a bit and when I have to interact with it again. So it finished a load of updates and then it's restarted after that, and then this happens. The user password must be changed before signing in. You just click OK and then put whatever password in you want. I'm just going to leave it blank and I'm going to click that little arrow there and it will change the password to a blank, and then it won't ask again. Obviously you can set a password if you want, you don't have to. I don't bother, because that way when I turn the power on it goes straight to the desktop and doesn't get interrupted by a login screen. So once this is done, we'll see what the status is of the hardware and run Windows Update again and see where we are. So we're at the desktop again, so I'm going to right click and then do settings like that, and we'll go straight to Windows Update again, and we'll just run that, see what it's doing. So I'm running Windows Update again. Just saying, say retry everything. Something didn't work, doesn't matter. You just keep going until it stops. Now if I go to Task Manager, everything appears to be working fine, doesn't it? Again, this machine would really benefit from an SSD, but I'm doing this video just to kind of illustrate what's going on rather than anything else. So Task Manager is having a bit of a hissy fit there, so we'll just see what the updates are doing. It's mainly because the drive is getting absolutely thrashed. So if I see the disk drive there getting absolutely thrashed by Windows Update, that's entirely normal, so don't worry about that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do Device Manager, so right click and then Device Manager, and then we'll see where we are on hardware that's been detected or not. So it's just starting up. I'm going to just drag that over there, wait for it to catch up with me. Again, the main thing that's making this go slow is the mechanical hard drive. It doesn't like doing lots of things at once. But we'll get there in the end. So there's a couple of unknown devices there, which I'll just leave. I'll leave that there like that. Now again, this is doing updates. It's saying that my device needs to restart, but what I really want to do is I want to go to Advanced Options. And there's an interesting thing here that we're going to try first. What we want is additional updates. It says there's 14 available, so I'm going to go to driver updates here. I'm just going to tick them all. Wait for it to catch up with me. So I'm just going to tick all of those. I'm not even seeing what they are, I'm just going to tick all of them over. I'll just do download and install. And remember what it looks like in Device Manager, where you've got these unknown devices. So just remember that, because we'll let this do its thing and download all of those. And then we'll see what happens after that. So that's all populated now for a start, but let's go back to Windows Update again. Relentless updating. So I'm going to check for updates again. And I'm going to right click and then do Task Manager, just to see what's going on. So the CPU is getting a bit of a battering, although it peaks. So disk 50%, so it's doing it. Yeah, okay, so let's have a look at let's have a look at Device Manager. And you can see there's nothing missing from there now. So now what we've got is fully functioning Windows 11. Of course, we can actually make it go faster by tweaking it a little bit, but it's just to illustrate that this this is how you get Windows 11 installed on any computer. Now, it does beg the question, should you? I did make a video about Asus motherboards having their TPM disabled by default, and then you enabled it and Windows 11 said OK. This isn't like that, really. If your machine has got, I would say 4 gig is a good, you know, a good check. If your machine has got 4 gig or more, then it doesn't really matter what processor you've got, does it? It's that kind of gigage of RAM that matters. If you've got an SSD, which this one doesn't, then an SSD would really help as well. So you might have to do a few upgrades to your computer, in that you might have to put an SSD in it. And if you haven't got 4 gig of RAM and it's possible to put 4 gig in, then maybe that has that would mean that you kind of squeeze a bit more life out of your laptop. But this one, 16 gig of RAM, this machine's absolutely fine. So there will be a lot of computers out there that will work perfectly happily with Windows 11. And you can use Rufus and the ISO and this little trick, it's not really a trick, but this little method to get it installed and then see how you get on. And of course, if it if you don't like it, you can go back to Windows 10 if you want, but we know that Windows 10 is going to get, you know, it's going to get expired soon, depending on when you watch this video. So you might as well get used to Windows 11. Don't know what Windows 12 will bring. Might be kind of interesting. Maybe Windows 12 will install this anyway, in which case I wasted my time, but I'm not privy to that information. I'm just thinking that a lot of my customers are getting nagged by this, you need to buy a new computer thing because Windows 10 is going to get booted out the door, and it's kind of nice to put Windows 11 on for them and save them a bit of money. But anyway, if you've got any comments, stick them in the comments. Liking and subscribing is very much appreciated. You can buy me a coffee if you think I've done a good job for you and it's helped you. It's going to be for beginners, really. I try to make it as clear and follow all the steps as much as I possibly can. But if you do have any questions, stick them in the comments. I do reply to comments. And thanks for watching.